Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you watched all the videos before this. They all go together very well. Um, I know the stress and burnout class is a little long. There's a lot of videos, um, but this is all really important to know, and it's the foundation of everything else that exists inside of the debrief and any work that we do together. So I want to make sure that again, all the information is here so that you guys can kind of dive in, figure stuff out, really understand what's happening and why. Because again, being able to identify all that stuff and the details, the nuances of what's happening gives us specific spots to target and allows me, if I work with you, to figure out exactly what areas, brain biology and whatnot, that we need to target the most so I can give you the right skills, point you in the right directions to be able to start pushing back on all this. So without further ado, what does all the burnout and the stress and all the unloveliness do to your system? Pardon me a sec. Okay. They occasionally talk about your mind and your body. Clearly, they're connected. It's all inside of you. You know this, but we don't realize and we don't talk about how interactive parts of your body and your brain really are. More so, what parts of your organs and your system affect your brain. Um, Obviously blood flow, basic nutrition, all that kind of fun stuff exists. We're all aware of that stuff. But the day-to-day, interaction of your body feeding information and abilities essentially to your brain isn't something that's talked about a lot. So I would pay attention to this one a little bit because you'll probably learn a decent bit, is my guess. Um, okay, so again, when the brain is on constantly, it does, the system, they talk back and forth. So if your brain's constantly on, if it's constantly stressed, it's constantly hitting that HPA axis, it's constantly dumping hormones into your body, it's causing your body to react in a stress response. Um, it's what we call a top down or a bottom up response. Basically, your body can talk to your brain and your brain can talk to your body. It works both ways. Depending on what's going on, we can target them on either side. So if your brain's on all the time and it keeps telling your body stress, 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 your cortisol goes up, stays elevated. Again, cortisol should come up and then go back down. If it's up all the time, bad. Your sympathetic nervous system, which is again that fight or flight, tends to stay on, tends to be activated all the time. Your parasympathetic, your rest relaxation, that allows you to digest and like function normally and calmly and healthily, gets turned off or at least reduced. And again, that the ability to fully rest and relax gets harder and harder to find because all those other systems get so used to firing, they don't stop and they just start kind of doing it on autopilot. What happens further into the body is typically first your sleep starts getting messed up or going, reduced, poor, feel like crap in the morning no matter how much you sleep, those kind of things. Inflammation climbs. Obviously, everybody knows inflammation isn't good, but most people don't realize how not good it is. It causes so many problems throughout your system, one of which being your immunity system. All of a sudden, you start getting sicker and weaker to stuff. And then a little bit farther down the line, a little bit longer, your gut, heart, and your metabolism all start to veer off of norms. And again, this is where the bottom up and the top down start coming into play. Because if your brain's in stress all the time and it starts messing with your biology, then your biology is no longer in the proper state to feed back proper stuff to your brain. And you start getting in this double negative cycle that is clearly unhealthy and not good and causes problems. Some of them you probably will recognize. So again, just a quick touch in case somebody jumped straight into this and didn't read the last one, particularly for the brain stuff. If you haven't, read the brain stuff. But this is the kind of the basic rundown of what's happening inside of your brain, inside of your nervous system, kicking on the hormones that causes the stress. And I'll leave this as is because hopefully you've already heard me talk about this and I won't do it again. If you haven't, go watch the other one, listen to me talk about it. So, cortisol. It's big in the news online all the time. Everybody's cortisol, cortisol, cortisol. It's horrible. Nobody wants it, all the things. And there's truth there. But obviously, it's in your body for a reason. And it wouldn't be in your body for a reason if there wasn't a good purpose for it. But again, it's how it's used and when. Pardon me. So, um, the good version of cortisol is it's supposed to kind of spike in the morning to help you get you motivated up and then calm back down at night. Chronic stress tends to flip that over where it's flatter in the morning, aka you don't get the energy burst, and it tends to hit at night. So all of a sudden you're trying to go to sleep and you can't because all of a sudden you have that like second wind, and it makes the shift kind of more flat. So you're just a little bit more like for the entire day on top of it. All right. And then with that, um, one of the first things that tends to happen with chronic stress and burnout situations is your sleep starts to deteriorate. So your deep sleep, your non-REM sleep, so when you're past the eye movement stuff, is where your brain actually repairs itself, where it clears all the crud. Um, Obviously, everybody knows we poop and pee. That's all the waste from the the cells in your body being pushed out and moving out of your body because they're either unwanted or unneeded. What a lot of people don't realize is your brain doesn't do that during the day. It only does it during deep sleep. Part of the reason we sleep, one of the biggest reasons we sleep, is your brain has to be able to shut off controlling the rest of your body enough that it can take care of itself. Um, so if we're not getting deep sleep, it's not being able to clean itself out. Um, and that is a primary factor, contributor, concern when it starts coming into long-term problems like dementia and stuff like that, where those plaques and that other stuff that's inside of your brain isn't getting pushed out the way that it should. This is step one to lead into that process. So clearly, we want to knock this off as quick as we can. Um, REM sleep is emotional processing, memory consolidation. It's the rapid eye movement stuff. Um, and it tends to kind of scatter out and not be as consistent during chronic stress. And then your continuity of sleep, you start waking up early, you start popping up and down. You might have like little micros where you just wake up for like a moment a lot through the night. You don't even really realize it. But if you're actually starting to do like sleep tests and stuff and like really look at it, you'll see the baseline of energy levels of what your sleep should be start getting all kinds of broken, scattered, and just not good. And this is when you wake up in the morning and you just kind of feel like a truck at you. So the inflammation part, low-grade inflammation tends to be, with burnout eventually will become the norm, and it's just kind of there all the time. It messes with your immune systems. Um, it makes you feel more depressed, makes it easier for you to get sick. And eventually it will start slowing down how you can heal, and it gets into your cardiovascular system, and it starts messing with your metabolism. Um, and this is where part of some of like random weight gain and stuff comes from. Is an inflamed body is a stressed body, which is an unhealthy body, and one of your body's natural responses is to hold fat in case of emergencies. So if it's feeling stressed too long, that's a cue for your body to be like, I need to be fat in case we can't eat for some reason. So the a lot of times people call the gut the first brain. If you look at bugs and insects and things that have been around forever and ever and ever that don't have fancy brains like we do, um, their gut kind of controls their world, and actually is kind of the first brain. There's actually more neurons in and around your gut than there are in your brain. Um, there's a lot of information that comes from your stomach and goes up. Um, so the vagal tone, the vagus nerve, it's popular right now. There's lots of vagal nerve stimulators and stuff like that are out there. Um, they can be helpful if they're made right, but there will be a lesson soon. It's not up yet, but it will be soon on some things that you can do to trigger your vagus nerve on your own for free, so that you don't have to buy all the fancy devices, and they tend to be like several $100s and stuff. If you like them and they work, awesome. But it's not a have to. There's ways you can do it by yourself for free coming up soon. Um, but the vagus nerve is a complex, large nerve that runs from your brain mainly to your stomach, but kind of branches out and touches most of your major organs. It's the nerve that gets activated for the rest of digest. It is a prime part of your uh, parasympathetic nervous system, which is the calm set of your nervous system that we are trying to learn how to activate and turn back on. Because if you're here, it means it hasn't been working enough. Um, so knowing the vagus nerve, what it does, and why people are trying to access it is important. Um, with chronic stress, if your body's reacting in a sad state, in a bad state too much, it'll start shifting and messing with the bacteria that's inside of your stomach. Your ability to digest certain foods and certain chemicals is going to start breaking down. Um, all that stuff has chain reactions throughout your body, part of which is your ability to think and feel certain moods. Um, so you can see where this is starting to like compound on itself inside of your body, and just every part that gets activated adds into the process of everything feeling and being a little bit worse. Um, again, if your stomach with all those neurons um, is your biggest producer of serotonin. It's not your brain, it's your stomach. GABA and other neurotransmitters that are very important to proper function, proper balance, get activated through your gut, and or the chemicals to activate them in other parts of your body get broken down and released through your gut and digestive system. So you can see if your stomach is off, obviously it literally feeds everything else in your body. So if it's not working right, nothing is working right. So eventually, with all this, another system that gets activated by all this is your cardiovascular system. There's a reason, they say stress kills, heart attacks, all those kind of things. Obviously, those are the more extreme versions, but, you know, it doesn't mean that they're not possible in this context. Um, you know, with the chronic stress trait, your metabolism shifting, um, cortisol always being in your system, causing that inverted kind of pattern. It'll start getting your heart rate to climb up, your resting heart rate drops because again, everything gets pushed into a more kind of panic state as the normal. Um, with that, it causes higher blood pressure, and then the pressure into your heart, the pressure into your brain, strokes, heart attacks, all those kind of things, those concerns start raising. Um, how much depends, a lot of genetics and environmental stuff and other things play into this. This isn't a one step, part of this process, but clearly we don't want to add anything into any of these concerns that we have to. Um, and then on the metabolic side, your insulin sensitivity drops. So you have to start looking at concerns, slowly pushing towards like diabetes too, which is completely inevitable. Totally do it to ourselves. Don't do it. Not good. Um, your sugar tends to run higher because it's an energy feeder for all the panic and stress that's happening in your body. Again, if your body's stressed, it's looking to save itself. So the visceral fat tends to build up. It's where the spare tire comes in, and that fat that builds around your organs, which if you can avoid it, do it, because if you care about feeling good or looking good at all, visceral fat is the most pain in the ass thing to deal with and get rid of ever. Um, and then with your digestive system and your metabolism being off, you start getting cravings for types of foods that aren't the most healthy, and again, feed in to all the negative patterns that we're talking about. So you can start seeing where being able to turn all this stuff off and shutting all this stuff down as much as we can is really important, because it just feeds into every little part of your body in a negative way that starts adding into the pile of negative effects. And then all the things I talked about, what does this show up as in your day-to-day life? It's hard to fall asleep. You're waking up at random times. And you feel like crap in the morning. All of a sudden, you're getting extra weight, pants are a little tighter, haven't changed your food, haven't really changed anything, not real sure why. You're always tired, but like a part of your body always wants to go. Um, Afternoon crashes tend to be really big. You get up, your energy levels are spiked. Eventually, like your body just can't hang it, and you crash. And then you kind of snap back to it at some point. Um, and then like caffeine, any of those kind of things aren't enough to push past through all this when your system is this out of whack. So all of a sudden you're 5 cups of coffee down, and it doesn't feel like it's touching you at all because it's not. Um, Bigger picture stuff, your immune system starts crashing. Easier to get sick, all those things. Clearly, nobody wants to be sick, and it doesn't help fix or solve any of the problems that you're here for. You can get tension headaches and your jaw, shoulders start getting, again, the gut issues, the stomach stuff that we talked about before. Your whole muscular system reacts to all this stuff. Well, we didn't go into it super hard, not really needed for the burnout stuff, but it is another system that gets affected by this in several different ways. And as we talked about, your heart, all of a sudden your heart rate starts going up more. It's harder to relax. Um, and as you go into the doctors, your blood pressure is starting to slowly go up and up and up. Okay, so that is the two sections on kind of what's happening inside. So next we're going to start kind of looking at kind of the effects of what's going on and how to push back some. So I hope this was informative. Again, if you don't understand any of the things that we talked about in this lesson, dive back in the prior ones. Really, really, really should go through all these in order 1 through 8. I know it's kind of a lot. Again, this is the biggest section of information of the whole reason you're here. So I try to spend some time to make sure that the information was here and locked up in a way that you could access and understand, and it felt true. Because if you see what's happening and you understand why, and you can see that I understand why, it opens up the door to be able to do something about it.